Welcome, Elise.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here and coming to share stories and wisdom and thoughts and questions and everything. Tell everybody about who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm Elise. I am the primary songwriter, guitar player, and vocalist for Avowal. I also play bass and do backup vocals for OC and the Jupiter. And another project I have is called Autumnal, which is just kind of a solo thing with me and my acoustic guitar. Um, Avowal is metal, like thrash, death punk kind of influences. OC is dark folk music. I didn't really write any of it outside of a couple bass things here and there. And Autumnal is like very 90s. That's the best way to describe it.
Honestly, I didn't know about the autumnal, and I'm so excited to check it out because when I'm not listening to metal, I love 90s folk rock. Just so I'm excited to see what this is.
So I had this project called Harvest before. So I'm still working on releasing. I've been just playing some shows as Autumnal. So I'll send you the Harvest stuff.
Mm.
You can check it out. And I basically took my acoustic concepts and just kept layering the fuck out of them.
Oh, cool.
And making it more like rock. I put more guitar and stuff on it. But then like I kind of really miss the stripped down version of some of those songs. So I'm reintroducing those and I have like a plate of new songs for the project. So I'm like, all right, I gotta get my ass recording here soon. And that's always the struggle when you're like working, you have more than one project. Like, when do I have time to sit down and do this? When do I have time to record and really put this all together? So
Yep, I
I'll be
know.
the first to send it to you when I get it for sure going.
Oh, yay!
So,
Good. I'll share it. I'll be excited to check that out. So also, what's your zodiac sign?
so I'm a Capricorn sun, Sagittarius moon, and Aquarius rising.
Ooh, lovely. Very artistic.
How are you? Like,
I'm
what are you?
uh I'm Scorpio sun, Virgo moon, and I always forget my rising, but I think it's Sagittarius. I really have to like do the chart again, print it out. I'll never remember. I should just get it like tattooed on my arm.
No, that's fine. I'm kind of nerd about
You know
astrology
what?
and
That's actually kind of like a great little tattoo idea, isn't it? Like to
mhm,
have like a sun, a moon, and then the astrological symbols,
right. And yeah, that'd be cute.
and then or just like your wrist or something. It would just be like little symbols, like a bracelet.
My one girlfriend, she has like her husband's constellation, her sun and hers, like on her. And I was like, that's really fucking cute too.
That is so cute. Yeah, it's like I mean for me it's like cheating on a test, writing on your palm because I will never remember my rising for some reason. But yeah,
It's
Scorpio, sun, so lots of like passion and pizzazz, and then the Virgo moon just like wants like peace and orderliness, and they come together like this.
yeah, I
So
mean that's the same kind of with the Capricorn and Sagittarius deal, like very orderly structure with the Capricorn, very type A, but then you have like the Sagittarius that like runs in with a shot of tequila, like, let's fucking do this.
good. Hey,
And
that's
I think it makes for a good personality, I hope.
yeah, a great personality for being on stage and playing metal and folk rock and everything. So, when did you first realize that you loved rock and metal music and you wanted to create more of it?
I mean, I've always loved like writing and playing music. I remember like my dad had a music room. Um, he converted our nursery into after my brother and I got our own bedrooms. And uh, I remember just like from a young age, just like seeing the Ovations guitar sitting on the stand. And I just didn't even know what the hell I was doing, but just like plucking little things out and be like, oh, that sounds really pretty. I want to do that. And I grew up where I'd fall asleep and my dad was playing his guitar while we were, in bed going to sleep. And I think like I always just kind of like experimented, but for me, especially younger, I didn't really care as much about putting myself out there, the music out there. It was just kind of a me thing. It wasn't until I was in my 20s that I even really started like uh playing in some cringe bands and you know, like then I had my kid and I just kind of like laid low for a while, focused on her, graduated college, worked. I'd still, and I took that as a time too to like kind of get better at guitar, play styles I really didn't mess with before. And really, I'd write things on the acoustic when I was feeling a certain way, or like to me, like immersing myself in metal music and learning different songs was also like a way just to be like totally present, not worry about all the chaos of the world. And then, you know, when I started writing for Avowal, which was probably like 2018, that's when I was like, yeah, you know what, maybe I will put some out there. I don't know that it was always a conscious effort to where I wanted to share it with everyone,
Hmm.
but I've always liked and enjoyed writing just for myself. And then it became something where it's like, yeah, you know what, fuck it, let's just go out and do this.
I love the visual of like dad's music room. Um, like I've seen like really gorgeous music rooms where it's like they got like a hardwood floor and they have like all sorts of fun like things to mess with, and it's like kind of like where the family of a house like gets together and sort of hangs out and plays around. My dad's music room was a stand-up piano in the basement and then an electric keyboard at the top of the stairwell. He was a pipe organist, and it was just like he played piano in the basement, which was like pretty muted. But when he would play the pipe organ on the keyboard, I think for Christmas one year I bought him a pair of headphones because I just like didn't want to listen to any more organ music.
I
Weird.
mean, that would be loud. I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
and it was just
Yeah.
like and it's not a performance, like, he's, like, trying to learn a part, so he's, like, replaying it until he gets it right, you know, and so I
So
just,
you're
like
like, how about you practice that a little quieter?
yeah, and, like, I mean, and then he'd figure it out and stuff, and, like and w I'd go with him to, like, the church where he would, like, rehearse, like, once or twice before performing it and be, like, so bored and, like, again, like, this, like, pipe organ soundtrack to my childhood. What was your dad's music room like?
He had and he still does. Like now he has one in his basement because that's that he's like in his 70s and he's still, I mean, music is forever, right? Um, but at that point he had like a keyboard and it had like that floppy disk insert. So we try to like have like so you can have different sounds and he could record different things on it. And then he had a lot of acoustic guitars and his electric guitar was at the time he just had the one. It was a like 75 6 Gibson Firebird with like the starburst finish and the reverse body. It was like the heaviest freaking thing on the planet. Um, in terms of, especially for like a kid trying to like play a guitar. And he played out of like this Galen Kruger, just like 12-inch speaker. And that thing rivals some, you know, like 4x12 in my opinion, because it has this just like big sound for such a small little combo amp. But what was funny is it still had some of the nursery decorations around the room. So it's just like we gotta go in there, it's carpeted, but you know, in his eyes, he just wanted somewhere to sit down and play. He had a couple stools in there and all the music equipment he could cram into a little room. And that was his little sanctuary. So
I love it.
I
So
enjoyed it.
nostalgic. Honestly, I really needed to like go there psychologically right now.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so if your music were a music movie soundtrack, and we'll go with a vowel for this one, what would the
Okay.
movie be about?
Well, about like for the first record, I was very I do like men and I believe there are good ones out there. I know plenty. So I have to preface this with that because whenever you have any kind of criticism, not all men, bitch, I know. But like kind of like frustrated with how like I feel like women get more shit for speaking up against violent men, violent things. And like if you're in any kind of music scene, like all the girls know that one's not safe. That one's we kind of like whisper to each other. And if any girl says anything or comes out, a lot of times she'll get more shit than the guy that actually did something.
Mm.
And so kind of like playing with that experience, I began writing about like the Greek goddesses, how they handled things, how they handled revenge. And my favorite from Greek mythology is Circe, who turned, she was banished to her own island after
Mhm.
she turned a human into a god. And,
Mhm.
they were threatened by her power. And she had some bad things happen when guys came to that island. So she learned to use witchcraft to basically turn these men into pigs. And that was the idea for the artwork, which my friend Jay, who's also in an awesome band called Axioma, uh, drew up for me, where we have Circe in the center and she's surrounded by her man pigs. So a vow would definitely be like a walk through the most maybe brutal parts of the women in Greek mythology, from Athena to Hera, and just, not advocating complete, again, that all men are bad or anything. It was just kind of my way of coping with some of those experiences. And then as my writing kind of evolved, just still playing on those societal themes. And I'm an avid tarot card reader and collector. Um, so all the Avowal songs, we actually just dropped our live album today, is, they're all named after different tarot cards. And some of the songs from the first album got reimagined into like tarot cards, just like renamed that way, but they deal with that spirit. So I don't know. I feel like I'm babbling, but yeah, it would just
Oh,
be, like a witchy girl who also just likes to go hard sometimes. And
I
that's
like it. Um, yeah, I did notice all the tarot card titles on your songs, and I think you did a really good job describing the sound. Thrash, a bit of punk, kind of death metal. Probably should play shows with like Cemetery Filth and darn, I can't think of this other band. There's another girl that was on the Rock Goddesses that you should play with. But yeah, tarot cards. So do you have a tarot deck nearby? Can you pull a card for all the Rock Goddesses?
Oh, I did not. But I have several right upstairs. My favorite deck is currently the Darkwood Tarot by Sasha Graham. And I think Abigail Larson is the name of the artist. They're awesome.
Okay.
And my oldest deck, and the one that's I always, come back to and use frequently, is like the Green Witch Tarot deck.
Hmm.
I think that also is through Llewellyn, but yeah, I'm yeah, I'm a huge fan. I just don't have them right at my desk.
Oh, that's okay. Send me a picture of the card that you pull for us later.
I will.
Post. My favorite tarot deck is the Celtic Tree Tarot, and
Oh,
I had that deck for such a long time. I lived with the publisher, a like a copywriter for Penguin Publishers when I was an adolescent, and she had to look at tarot decks all the time as a part of what they published, and she gave me the Celtic Tree Tarot right when it was released. But I don't have that deck anymore. It got lost in Seattle, as everything
oh.
in Seattle does. Okay, so if you have a
Can I say
vision board.
one thing really
Sure.
quick?
Yeah.
That's like a whole belief around tarot too, is that you should be like, there's people that believe like you should just be gifted your tarot deck. So that's really
Oh.
cool that your first deck was also gifted to you.
Yeah, and it has the Owam tree language all over the cards, and the cards are often associated with the trees from that language. So I was like starting to like be able to like read this vertical text that like runes came from later. But
Very
back to
cool.
you, your vision board. Which three pieces of any band memorabilia of all time would you put on a vision board for yourself or have possess?
Well, what's I do have a vision board, and one of my like staple women on it that is one of my faves is Wendy O. Williams.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love one of her spike bracelet
Mm-hmm.
gauntlet things that she had.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think like she's one of the most badass women of all times. Rest in peace. As a kid, I was a huge Nirvana fan. I mean, fuck, I'm still a big Nirvana fan. I don't think I'll ever grow out of it. I loved Kurt's Fender Mustang, the red one with the white. I'd take that. And also, hmm, I mean, definitely those two. And it's like, I don't know if that counts as memorabilia's guitar,
Why
but
not? I
like,
mean,
yeah.
I actually had somebody answer this question with like, I forget exactly what it was, but it was body parts. It was like Jimi Hendrix's hand in a glass jar in formaldehyde. And I was like, creative, very creative.
Very. Oh, wow. That's,
Smart.
yeah. That's,
It was
that's
very
so
valuable.
I'll say. In that case, maybe one of Bob Marley's dreadlocks.
Oh, okay. I like that. That's a
I
good
feel like
one.
that'd have some good vibes.
Yeah.
And I don't know, John Lennon's sunglasses from
Okay.
like that I Love New York shoot, those like little circle ones. I actually went to the Rock Hall when they had his display there, and they had the clothes he was shot in, which
Oh my
I
gosh.
found
That's
like way
spooky.
morbid. There was like
Yeah, that is
blood
morbid.
on the bag, and they didn't have like the clothes out. It was just in the evidence bag, but they had his glasses on top of it, and they were like kind of shattered, and there was some bits of blood like in,
Oh my
and
God.
that was just like on display. And I remember, I think I was in like middle school. I'm like,
I don't think
whoa,
that they're going to
like
be able to like keep it like that forever. Somebody's going to probably tell them to put that away, I think.
I believe, well, yeah, they haven't, it was just like an exhibit for a period of time. So I think Yoko Ono like worked something out with the Rock
Hmm.
Hall where, and like, I mean, it was incredible. I still remember it like it was yesterday, that she even had the beds from Bed-Ins for Peace brought in.
Oh, wow.
Um, there was like all this like their napkins and stuff from, I don't know if you remember like the insert in the White Album, how there was like all those doodles and little writings. They had like all that stuff, like the actual pieces. You couldn't touch them, they're behind glass, but it was still like really wicked to like see and experience that. Because I don't know, I grew up on the Beatles. Was I still listen to the Beatles here and there. I'm not one of those like anti-Beatles people. And, John Lennon was definitely a complicated man, but not like the best human ever or anything. But his stamp on the world and music, it's like undeniable. So that was still like one of those memories that really stands out. So not the glasses he was shot in, but like a pair of his sunglasses would be cool.
Yeah, yeah. I like the collection.
Mm.
Okay, so a deeper question. Looking back on all of your adventures, what is a big decision you made that turned out to be a great choice?
It might be cliche. Um, I am a mom, and my pregnancy wasn't exactly planned, but like choosing to have Annabelle was like, it's still, she's so smart, funny, and like, I don't know, just like, it's so exciting to like, she has a whole world ahead of her still, and like, the possibilities are endless. And I think like, I don't know, just kids, they change your world in a way. Like, I was younger, it's just like the motivation to grow up more, finish college, be like a role model, an example to her. I'm sure I'm like cringe in plenty of ways to her, as they say, but yeah, it definitely put my life on a different trajectory than maybe what I thought I was going to do before that. And honestly, I think therapy is probably a good thing too. I've done it at different stages of my life, and I think it's not sure where I would be without that, that like outside party that just kind of, and every time like you're just kind of stuck. Like if it is within your access to see a therapist, like when you find the right one, it's really worth it. And that I would say that.
Yeah.
I don't want to babble too
Um,
much, but
no, no. Those are both really good answers. I'm sorry that not interrupting you makes you think that you're babbling.
like, and for even in times where like I couldn't afford therapy, but was like, man, I could definitely benefit from it right now, like with what I'm going through, like finding good like peer-reviewed workbooks. And I'm not talking just like
Mm,
a self-help book by some internet guru. I'm talking like actual, that there's some research behind it. You might be recommended something by a
yeah,
therapist. Like those could
for
be
sure.
very
Yeah.
helpful too. Because I think so much like most everyone in this day and age struggles with some form of mental illness and like things that they'd like to step out in those cycles. But especially here in America, therapy isn't always affordable or attainable for everyone. And so just anyone watching, in case that is what your experience is, I've found that helpful at times when
Mhm.
I wasn't able to access the care that
Yeah.
would have been beneficial.
Support groups are super important and great for finding resources that, yeah, they can be useful tools. Um, okay, back to you.
Hmm.
What does it feel like when your intuition is speaking?
This is an interesting question. Um, because like I had a long time where sometimes I wouldn't know, is this my anxiety or is this my intuition, Because it can, for me, things are very like guttural, like they're in my gut. Like if something, it's that thing where something feels off and you decide not to go down that road or go to that party. And then you find out later, something crazy happened and you're
Hmm.
like, that was that like gut feeling. But, um, or like the mother's kind of intuition, like just knowing you're up to something. Like I can't explain it. And then like catching it right in the act. But I use my intuition a lot just around people. And the older I've gotten, the more I've trusted it. And
Yeah.
like where I think younger, and this is what like my daughter, I'm super just proud of her and like she doesn't have some of the same like pleasing tendencies and that I did. She can kind of be like, nah, I don't like how that person talked to me. So I'm cool on them. And I'm
Hmm.
like, yeah, you know what? People show you who they are. You don't need to have a discussion around it. You can just like walk away and having that discernment. So to me, intuition's in the gut. And sometimes I don't know if it can be like anxiety. I might be overthinking something, but that's
And
a good way of deciphering it too by acknowledging like, all right, I'm trying to logic it. So that means it is my intuition and not just some, overthink I'm doing related to my anxiety or whatever.
yeah,
I like
or like you said, like it could be like a people pleasing thing where you're like, well, I feel like I need to like, do whatever with this person because it's like the polite behavior or
mm-hmm.
something. And it's like, is it actually the right
Yeah.
behavior for your protecting yourself? It's like,
Well, and that's like another thing about people pleasing. Like, it's often we put on this pedestal of like, oh, I'm such a good person, look what I'm doing. But there can be like, it can be a very manipulative habit too, because you're not acting in by responding in the way that you necessarily would independent someone else's opinion. And so that's like something too, like when I'm like, okay, but what do I want to do? If nobody's in the room, if I have no one there to judge me, no other opinions to consider. And I'm not saying there's not time where you need to consider other people because hello.
yeah.
But if you have a tendency to kind of like go along with things and then be kind of resentful after, that stopping and becoming aware, like no is a full sentence. You don't have to give your friend an excuse why you don't why you can't go somewhere, why you can't do something for someone. Just because you have free time doesn't mean that you owe it to other people to go spend time with them because you need your own time to do
Mhm.
nothing too. So, you know, that's that's kind of like the other point around it with like what's your intuition, what's like what do you want to do, what's in your gut without if you had no judgment, no one else in the room, what would I say?
Mm,
Important to make time for your family, your friends. You can't like isolate always, but there are times in your life where you do just need to kind of shut the world out
hmm.
or, not take on the extra project, not do the extra work assignment, not, and just do what you want to do because you only live once.
Yeah. So, changing gears, what is your favorite gear and your favorite stage wear?
Hmm. Well, I have a Gibson Flying V. I got it in 2019. I'd never bought myself like a new like super brand name guitar. I'd always had like whatever off brand, and I'd play, my ex's Gibson V, and I finally just like bought my own. I still haven't decided. I'm deciding between a few pickups, and I'm playing on it for years now. And I kind of like the factory pickups, but I will make that change eventually. And
Okay.
I have a Bogner Uberschall. Uh, and I'm not like much of a pedal person. I have a few, but I don't like tap dancing when I'm playing that
Hmm.
much. I do a little bit, and I really like, because I mean, too, like with a head like that and a guitar like that, the tone and the dial in between the two, like I like that sound. I like the, um, what it is. And if you're talking about like costumes, like what I like to wear fishnets and Daisy Dukes and some kind of tattered shirt. Then that's usually like my stage wear too.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds really comfy. Fishnets and
It
Daisy
is.
Dukes. And that's really important. And so then, when you hit a flaming hoop in the circus, what helps you keep your spirit up?
That's kind of like, you know, like if you're like coming up to a challenge, basically,
Yeah,
you know,
things like, an artwork isn't ready for a single release, or you have to get a different drummer to play your set because they
oh,
broke
I've
their
had that
foot.
experience a lot. And now I'm settled. I have my cracker. He's amazing. But my gram, rest in peace, she just passed away this year. She Woman went through more hardships than most, and she was 92. She would have been 93 this year. Um, she'd always tell me, because I'd be like, Graham, how did you even get through that? And she's like, it is what it is. It is what it is. And you got to do what you got to do. Like, you can't change it.
Mhm.
And she would tell me about, like, if you sit there and you're just spiraling, trying to figure out how to change something versus just accepting it and figuring out what you have to do, because the only way out is through. It's like another one of those things. Her and my mom both use. Um, my mom, when things are really hard, she always reminds me, when it rains, it pours, which isn't the most optimistic saying, but it's her way. Like, and she is a generally optimistic person, but it's just like that reminder, like when one thing goes wrong, you're usually going to have a few other things go wrong too, but it's temporary, just like a storm, it's going to be gone soon. It might be hard for a minute, but there's always sunshine after, there's always better things to come. And I think radical acceptance is the only way through. I just try it when I have hiccups. I might like throw a little fit by myself, but
That's healthy.
like,
That's healthy. You can't keep it inside your body. It'll make you sick.
but you just buckle down and get to work. You reach out. I mean, I think what like one of the examples that you had too is like Joan Jett being rejected. And I think for anyone pursuing music, pursuing work, pursuing art, like rejection is gonna happen. And that's where it's so important to be sure about what you're doing, be confident in your abilities, and just keep at it. And it doesn't matter if you ever reach this fame and success of someone like, say, Joan Jett. It's just at the end of the day, you got to go to bed with you at the end of the night. And if you're proud of what you did, just because other people don't see it doesn't diminish its worth.
Nice. I love the temporary like a storm. Temporary like a storm. Okay, so do you have any new announcements for us?
I do. We just dropped today, which I know you're releasing this a couple days after, but the 17th, we had Avowal has a live album that just came out, and most of it was recorded at Birmingham Meadery, which is to date probably one of my favorite show I've ever played. It was like just an awesome energy. It's the first festival I've ever been to where I'm pretty confident it was like an equal guy to girl ratio
Hmm.
for like a metal and
What
Viking
was the fest
festival.
called?
It's Rigger Crafts puts it on at Birmingham Meadery in Delaware. It's a mead and Viking metal festival. So
Oh my goodness. That's
they have metal bands, some like dark folk bands play too, and yeah, there's a ton of like uh vendors. I was like, what the hell is that word? Um, and just like all of it's like Viking theme, and Birmingham Meadery, they do like a lot of the metal fest. They make their own mead, and it is damn good mead. uh, and if you like mead, you can order it online too, which is a perk if you're not in Delaware and you enjoy mead. They work with different bands on mead collabs too, which is cool. Uh, but that came out. We did we ordered like limited 100 CDs, and they're hand numbered, and on CDs only, it's not streaming. We have a couple tracks from our which was Brooklyn, New York performance on the same tour that we did around the Birmingham Festival. And my favorite thing about it is in a studio setting, it's hard to get a vowel's intensity because how we play together, how we play off of each other, we tend to play faster, than you do like when you're sitting in a studio. And vocally, I think for me, um, like when I have a guitar in my hand and I'm playing at the same time, I have a different ferocity than like when I'm in a studio setting trying to do that. And I feel weird being like air guitar, you know what I like? Studios to me can feel so like, um, what's like, almost like clinical. And I think now like this pressure where everything has to be to a click, and when you listen to like even newer metal music where it's all like very simple rhythmic pattern, like not rhythmic but like tempos, whereas if you listen to classical music, if you listen to older metal, if you listen to like older rock, like where it has like this like natural flows. I'm not saying don't practice the tracks and metronomes and stuff, that is fundamentally important, but I think sometimes like when you everything revolves around it, it can almost sound like sterile or like mechanical. And I think what I like we didn't fully do that with our last recording. I just like the studio setting is kind of it's just not the same thing as that like everybody in the room playing a song. And I think too feeding off the crowd is fun, and it just fully captures what you expect when you go see us live. And I really like being more of a live band than I like writing. I love being in like that process. But for about Val in particular, I think, we're one of those things that is best consumed live. And what I love about the recording, Ray from Midland Studio Records, he's the one who ran our sound that day and mixed and mastered it to put it so we could put it out there. Uh, it was I'm just like, fuck yeah, that's what we sound like. That's the band, and it's the only release that I have with the current lineup that we have. So I'm pretty stoked.
perfect. Okay. Well, now we're gonna finish with the vinyl game. I'm gonna, just like every episode, hold up two pieces of vinyl and you'll pick one that you wanna say something about that you like or you have a question about.
All right.
So, Coven or Kate Bush?
Oh, that's interesting. Interesting choices. Hmm. I'm curious, like, what made you put those two together? Uh,
The whole group that I pulled out were just bands that I thought that you might have felt inspired by, or you could feel inspired by if you had a chance to listen to them.
Yeah. No, I've listened to Coven before, and definitely like Kate Bush came up and got real popular here a couple years ago with that like Stranger Things. And what's unique about her too is like she wasn't as appreciated in the 80s as like um like it seems like now like nostalgia looking back, and when like you go back and read about her and like her like uh, it's been a while since I went on a little like Wikipedia and internet doodle on her, but it was like that she wasn't like that song even wasn't as well received as kind of like the Stranger Things had it, like that kind of actually brought new life to the song. And I thought that was kind of cool, like later in life, kind of getting a resurgence when it was, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It was a huge resurgence. I agree with you. Okay, so how about Girl School or Pat Benatar?
Ooh, I'm gonna go Pat Benatar. My mom loves Pat Benatar. So it just makes me think of like just my mom actually likes a lot of everything, but I remember being young and in particular one of her jazzercise classes, just Pat Benatar.
That's awesome, actually.
My
Pat
mom had a lot
Benatar.
of her records too.
Nice. Okay. Joan Jett or Santa?
I gotta go with my girl Joan.
Right, all right. Any
I
favorite Joan tracks?
I mean, that's hard to pick too. Like I really I even like some of her like later stuff. I took my daughter to
Hmm.
see her on tour with Elle King and Hart,
Oh,
and
wow.
they play that song like I don't remember if that's the name, but like you've got nothing to lose when you lose fake friends. And I still and the one of the guys in the band actually talked about that song before they played it. They're like, yeah, so we made it to like peak fame, that record in particular. Um, and then when our popularity started to dwindle, like all of a sudden, like certain people weren't coming around anymore. You didn't get
Hmm.
calls from certain people. And it's like you find out who your real friends are after like having that kind of climb. And you just had this cute little talk about it. And like, and I remember my daughter's wheels turning and she's like, wow, that's really cool. That's so true. And I was like, yeah. But that, like, that record's front to back. Crimson and Clover's on that one too, right?
I
Like,
think it is. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's classic genre record.
Nice, nice, nice. All right,
But
so here are two newer bands, but you might know them, Lucifer or Burning Witches.
oh, I've actually just started listening to Burning Witches. I can't speak like super educated about them. And Lucifer's been around for a while. Like I'm again like familiar, but I'm not like nerd level on
Hmm.
them. But Burning Witches, like they jam. That's that's like
They're
it's good.
very, yeah, they're very tight live. And I saw them in Mexico City, and they also just played a lot of gigs in the US early in the summer, with actually a lot of the girls that have been on the Rock Goddesses. So they're really cool about booking their shows with other bands that have women in them,
That's awesome.
right?
I mean, guys do it. We don't bat an eye. Why shouldn't women?
Yeah. Okay, last set. One of these is newer, but Bonnie Tyler or Mean Mistreater.
Hmm. I don't know much about either, to be honest.
Well, Bonnie Tyler, you know the song Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Oh
Of
yeah.
and so she's got that raspy voice, and um this is a pretty good like 80s rock
I mean, it
album.
looks 80s as fuck for
The back of
sure.
it looks like the cover of a Frank Herbert novel.
Hmm.
And then Mean Mistreater, very much a newer band. They just finished recording their second album from Austin, Texas. And I think that you would like Mean Mistreater, because it's like thrash metal with a like scratchy rock and roll element. So I think
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, I think you
And
did right.
Austin is such like, I mean, I've heard nothing but like good things about like the Austin music scene in general. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, maybe you guys will end up playing a show together when somebody's traveling somewhere or something.
Yeah.
So
Don't
I
threaten
think,
me with a good time.
yeah, I think you'd have a crossover audience. So,
Yeah.
um, okay, thank you so much for your time today, Elise, and
Thank
all your stories.
you. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Talk to you soon. Send me the tarot card.
Oh, I absolutely will.
Bye.
Bye.